You get to be here for the end of Quarter Century Week. Now, you were with us on Wednesday in studio, and you gave us, we debated Sixers top fives, but I have the voting in front of me here, Elliot.
You have the final results.
I have the final results from all the listeners and the staff and kind of put it all together. And here's what we're going to do. So coming up in a little bit, we're going to unveil our full top fives, the three of us, including Kyle, who's behind the glass today. But what struck me as I went through all the votes, I felt like I was like crunching numbers like an office person.
Well, I saw you doing it when I walked in.
I felt like I had a real job. It was weird. Like I don't know how people do real jobs.
Did you use a calculator?
Yeah, I did at one point.
Look at you.
Yeah, I used a calculator. I had a spreadsheet. I felt like a real, like people that listen to us that have real jobs. I felt like you guys today. So
math is very nerve-wracking.
It is. Well,
you want to double check, triple check.
I was afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah, same man.
Well, especially because the vote was really close. So here is what I am going to unveil right now. I'm going to tell everyone the top four according to everyone. So this is how it came down when you combined your votes and all of our votes here at WIP. The top vote getter for the top five of the last quarter century was Brian Dawkins. You're not going to be surprised by these names. Brian Dawkins got the most votes. Allen Iverson came in second, Jason Kelsey third, and Lane Johnson fourth. They were pretty much on almost all the top fives in some order. They now some people, I think the staff was a little higher on Lane compared to maybe where the listeners were, but those four, as I started going through the numbers, it was pretty clear they were all going to make it.
So credit to the listeners for having Lane on it. Yeah. I think sometimes Lane gets a little overshadowed because of Kelsey, because of Brandon Graham. Lane's probably been the best player of all three of them. He has the 2 Super Bowl trophies, so credit to the listeners for having him on.
Well, so I agree with you on that. Here is what struck me, and here's where we need everyone's help today. Now, I was hoping we were going to come on here today and just unveil the top five, but
not that simple.
It's not that simple.
Lists are never that simple.
And the vote was too close. So I'm telling you right now, as I look at it, the vote is minuscule between the two guys that came in 5 and 6, or maybe 6 and 5, depending on how we go throughout the day. But we need your help because, Elliot, as I look at the vote, it came down to these two people for the final spot. And I think today the best way we could do this is like a tiebreaker on the show today with the listeners.
Ben Simmons one of them?
No, he's not.
He was not one of them?
I think I was trying to figure how many names I should tally because, some people were jokers and they put like silly names on there. Right. So do I have to calculate them? So I think I had 15 or 20 names that had enough votes for me to count.
Noteworthy.
Yeah, noteworthy. But the two guys that were close enough that we have to debate for the final spot on the quarter century list was Jalen Hurts and Chase Utley. I mean, the votes were almost, I think there were 3 votes separating them in the listeners, and it was pretty close with the staff as well. It was really close. Those two were clear the next two in the voting. Elliot, if you had one spot left on the quarter century top 5, who gets it? Jalen Hurts, Chase Utley.
Yeah, so we'll talk about our top 5s in the next segment, but spoiler, one of these two players is on my top 5, and I think he should be on every top 5. In fact, I would consider, a term you guys use this week, he's a lock top 5.
Oh, boy.
He is on the list, and that is Jalen Hurts. This is a continuation of what has been dumbfounding to me all offseason. This idea that the quarterback of the Eagles that started the season, finished the season as Super Bowl MVP, is not on all these lists. As long as I've been in Philadelphia, the Eagles matter and the quarterback matters. And Jalen is already the best quarterback in franchise history. He is on a Hall of Fame trajectory, which is something we all need to wrap our mind around. If he wins another one, he's probably in. By getting one, he's already in the conversation. So if I look at Jalen versus Utley, here's the thing about this too. These are all fantastic players. The top 10, they're all great. But Jalen is one that has to be on it. I think Utley has an argument. Jalen has more than an argument. Jalen has a locked-in spot. So for me, it is clearly Jalen.
Well, there's no way Jalen has a locked in. Locked in is Allen Iverson.
Yeah, and Jalen is not on the level of Iverson or Dawkins yet. I get that. But he was the most important player on the best team of the past 25 years. The 2024 Eagles were the best team of the past 25 years.
That I agree with, yes.
Right? So he was...
But he wasn't their best player.
He was the most important player, and I think you could argue he was the best player.
Oh, he was not better than Saquon.
Again, he is the quarterback. He's the quarterback of the team that has the most to do with whether they win or not. He just does, right? So,
but in this season, they asked him to do less than most quarterbacks.
But he still did way more than any other player on the team. His responsibility on the team was way higher
Well, that's
than
his
anybody.
position.
Yes, but that matters.
Right, but we say that with the idea that like the quarterback is the driving force of most football teams.
Correct.
And he wasn't for the most of the season. He wasn't.
No, he still was.
But no, it was
Saquon was still really important, but Jalen was the driving force of the team. He touched the ball on every play. He called the majority of plays that they ran. So the most important, best player on the best team of the past 25 years, you don't think's a lock? That's crazy.
No.
to me.
Well, so here's the way. So. I disagree that Jalen deserves a spot on the list. In fact, I don't think he should. I didn't have top 5 Eagles of the last 25 years.
That's crazy.
Let alone top 5 in the whole city in the last 25 years. So the way, there's a lot of ways to view it. There's like longevity, excellence. There's how much you matter to the city and the teams. There's different ways. As I look at the list that is in front of us, right, the list that everyone's voted on all week, and that we have our votes, we have the listener votes, we have the staff votes. I think a lot of things are covered. Like Brian Dawkins, great Eagle, great player, and a Hall of Fame player in his sport. Allen Iverson, same thing, right? Check those boxes now. Neither of those guys champions, which is unfortunate. But like,
it is noteworthy how important they were and how great they were that they are locks on the list despite not being champions.
Yes, I thought the same thing. Okay, so Kelsey and Lane, to me, they represent the Eagles of this era. So like, I have that box checked, and both I think will be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day. And then you have the last spot, and you're not wrong in some what you said about Hurts, and he's super important, and he's the quarterback of the Eagles. But how could the Phillies of that era have no representation in the top 5? Like that's where, if I have to choose between Utley and Hurts, and it's not even like a Hurts isn't that good thing. It's just that would mean zero representation for that Phillies run. Like if you think about the last 25 years of Philadelphia sports, the Eagles 2 Super Bowls, and that Phillies team, and then the I guess like the special talents, but no titles with the Sixers. Like that's what stands out to me.
Right.
That's the last 25 years, and for the most part, unfortunately, the Flyers have been kind of out of sight, out of mind. They haven't really mattered as much as they used to in the 90s. So like, how do I have no 08, 09, 10 Phillies on the list? It can't do it.
So it's something I struggled with too. But I think what can maybe help you and why I ultimately landed where I land is we are not doing the 5 players that represent the last 25 years. We're doing the 5 best players of the last 20.
Well, then there's no way Hurts belongs on there.
No, Hurts absolutely belongs on there. He does. Again, you just said yourself, the quarterback is the driving force of football teams.
Most times.
And always.
Almost
always.
2022, I thought he was. I didn't think he was this past year.
Well, you're wrong about that. I mean, you can think that.
I mean, the team asked him to stop throwing the football.
But he still did throw the football.
Yeah, right, because that's his position.
Correct. And that's why it's the most important. That's why it's the most important.
But it doesn't mean you just get an automatic spot. Like there's going to be
but it kind of does. When you're the quarterback of the Eagles that wins the Super Bowl and you're Super Bowl MVP, you do kind of get an automatic spot.
Well, where's Nick Foles?
Nick Foles did not start and finish the season like Jalen did.
Okay.
And Jalen's been to 2 Super Bowls.
Sure,
Nick, again, I think there'd be an interesting argument for having Nick.
Yeah.
But he really only had, 4 great games.
Now, Nick Foles, by the way, did get some votes. Like he had enough votes that I had to count them for the top 5 overall. I wasn't close to the top, but he did get some people interested in his name. 215-592-9495. Where do you come down on this? We have 1 spot left. The voting was super close. So, the 4 locks were Iverson and Dawkins and Kelsey and Lane Johnson. They made most lists. They had by far the most votes. But then it came down to Chase Utley and Jalen Hurts for that final spot on the top 5 of the quarter century here in Philadelphia sports. Kyle, where do you come down as we have 1 spot left and we need everyone's help today to decide it? I think it's clear it's got to be Chase Utley.
Yeah, I really don't see an argument against Chase Utley. I'm sorry, Elliot, but like everything that Jalen Hurts has under his resume in terms of accomplishments, Utley has it while also being at the top of the league in his position for like a prolonged period of time. All these quarterback lists that we do, we have people, lunatics, I think, put Jalen up at 2, and then coaches, execs, the range is from 2 to 9. You wouldn't have anybody around Major League Baseball that knows what they're talking about or watch the sport put Chase Utley even below 3, I think, in terms of second baseman of that era. Like Chase Utley was 1 or 2. The best or second best, you could argue, second baseman in the league for a very long period of time.
I would say for like a 7-year stretch, a long time.
Won a World Series, went to another one. So, they both have been to 2 championships and have both won 1. I mean, and then plus, what was he, 5-6-time All-Star in a row or something like that? I'm sorry. And while I have both of them in my individual top 5 lists, if there's 1 spot left, I think it just has to go to Chase Utley.
So, look. again, to what I will say, any of these players we're talking about, whether it's you had them 6, 7, 8, they all have great arguments. These are great players we're talking about. But when you bring up the individual accomplishments of Chase Utley, yes, he does have a better resume, I would say, than Jalen does at this point. Jalen's also only played really 4 years as the starter, right?
4.
Chase has had his entire career. But the other thing, and this is just an unfortunate reality of this list, baseball players are the most replaceable players. I'm not saying they win without Chase Utley, but if you take Jalen off the Eagles, it is a bigger blow to the Eagles than if you took Chase off of those Phillies teams. So when you look at the responsibility that the player has, Jalen already has an outstanding resume. I'm not making an argument for a quarterback just because he's the quarterback. He's been to 2 Super Bowls and he won 1. And the Eagles are ahead of the Phillies in this city. So, yes, Chase Utley's obviously had an outstanding career. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet. I think Jalen probably has a better chance of getting in the Hall of Fame than Chase does, right? Because Chase is not.
I'm not sure.
Maybe he gets in, maybe.
So
but
Chase just got about 40% of the vote. He's moving up the ballot.
He's moving his way in.
Jalen Hurts is 5 years into his career.
Correct, but Jalen already has a Super Bowl, and we think we would probably all agree there is, a 40% chance he wins another one?
Would you say Jalen's already 40% of the chance to the Hall of Fame? Because Utley literally on the ballot is 40. He's actually halfway because you need 75%. He's halfway to the votes.
I think if you go to 2 Super Bowls, you win 1, and you win 80% of your starts, you are on the way to a Hall of Fame career. In fact, if
I would say on the way.
If Jalen was a top 5 pick, I don't even think that would be a controversial statement.
Well, so don't you think, in a way, it's harder for Chase Utley to make his way into the Baseball Hall of Fame than it would? Like, Eli Manning got 2 Super Bowls and was basically just became an auto lock for the NFL Hall of Fame.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. If Jalen gets another one, he's in.
But I don't know if that necessarily speaks to how great or elite Jalen Hurts is.
You're saying it's more of how the Hall of Fame works.
No, but I think it does, because what it shows is how important and how hard it is to win a Super Bowl.
I don't know.
The fact that when a quarterback has 2 of them, that's a massive deal.
We're putting the cart before the horse a little bit here. Jalen Hurts got a long way to go to make the
Super Bowl. No, he does.
Super
but
Bowl. Make the Hall of Fame.
But the point I'm making is Jalen is on his way to that, and Chase might not get in. You think he could, but his career is over, and he has not been a first ballot Hall of Famer.
You did say something that I think is part of the vote with this, and it's just it's harder. It's sometimes the reality makes it harder for some guys, easier for others. You said Jalen only had 5 years of this quarter century to play, right? Utley had his whole career. But that's part of the list, right?
No, it is, agreed.
Some people voted Eric Lindros. He barely played in the 2000s, right? And we were joking the other day about Hugh. Hugh had 2 probably really great seasons in the NFL. And 2 probably for the Eagles, 2 or 3. But one of them was in the 90s. I obviously we're kidding about Hugh being a top 5 all-time Philadelphia athlete the last 25 years. But some people could have said, yeah, Hugh was really good. Maybe top 10, 15, 20 Eagle the last 25 years. But he only had 2 high-level seasons in the 2000s. So, I can't put Hurts there because he doesn't have enough time.
But also,
that's part of the voting.
You talked about, you have to have a Philly represented there, right?
Yes.
You also have to have an Eagles quarterback.
No, you don't.
When you have a quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, it is the most important position in the city.
You don't.
You absolutely have to, especially when you have one that's qualified for it.
Well, so here's what I would say to that. If you think about the Eagles the last 25 years, I think you can make a case they're the 3rd most successful franchise.
In the city?
In the sport.
In the NFL.
In the NFL, right?
Okay. I know you're not about to put the Sixers in.
It's the Patriots.
Yeah.
And it's the Chiefs, right? Whatever. Okay. And then the Eagles. But I think the last 25 years, when I think about the Eagles, I think of Andy Reid, Howie Roseman, and I think of great offense and defensive lines more than they have an all-time quarterback. The Chiefs and Patriots, right away, what do you think of? Mahomes and Belichick and Reid and Brady. The Eagles, for all the success they've had very good quarterback play, but they haven't. If you're doing this exercise in Boston, Brady's at the top of this list.
For sure.
Now, Jalen might evolve to become closer to this one day, but right now, the Eagles have had all this success, and I don't think quarterback's been the most, the greatness of quarterback hasn't been the biggest thing.
Right. So while I respect that's how you view it, it's also not my problem that's how you view it.
Well,
right?
That's the truth.
No, but I don't think it is the truth. The Eagles, for all the talk of Howie and the lines and everything, they didn't start winning until Jalen got here. Those years, I know the Super Bowl in 2017 was a one-off, right? 18, they weren't that good. 19, they weren't that good. 20, they weren't that good. Jalen got here, and Jalen, they still believed in the lines. They were still great GMs. The quarterback changed everything. 2022 is when they took off. 2023, Jalen didn't have as good of a year. Guess what? All these great players we're talking about, Didn't win a playoff game. Why? Because Jalen wasn't that good in 2023. Last year, Saquon was a big part of it, without question. But this team wins when Jalen is playing. That's just a reality.
But they weren't a bad team when he got here. I mean,
yes, they were.
No, but they had one bad year.
No. They did not have one bad year.
They did. They had one bad year.
In 2020, but they didn't win a playoff game in
Right.
2019.
But
They didn't win a playoff game in 2018. They didn't win a playoff game in 16, 15, 14, 13, 12.
They did win one in 2018. They beat the Bears. Double doink.
Yeah, okay,
right?
you're right. My bad.
But they won the Super Bowl in 17, got to the divisional round in 2018, and made the first round in 2019. They had one down year, and then
and in 2021, how many games were they supposed to win? 5, 6?
I think they're over just 6.5.
Okay, right? And they overachieved that. So he did not walk into a great situation.
He didn't, but the organization has been good for 25 years.
Yes, for sure. But the point being is the organization's been good when they get good quarterback play. Yes, for as great as all the other parts are, when the quarterback's good, that's when the Eagles are good.
What were the Phillies before that group came along? They were crap. Other than 93, the Phillies had a run for 17 years of garbage, and then Rollins, Utley, Howard arrived, and they became an NL dynasty.
Yes, I agree, but Utley, while a great player, right, he had Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, they were all part of it. Jalen is more important than any of those three players. When you're the quarterback of the team, Utley is more replaceable than Jalen is.
215-592-9494. All right, we need your help today because we have one spot left on this list, and the voting was... I was surprised as I went through it. I was like, man, this is really... Every time I added another vote, I was like, I don't know who's going to be on top.
Yeah.
Utley, Hurts, who should get the 5th spot on the list of the 5 best players Philadelphia sports last 25 years?